Welcome to Sam's Russian Adventures and welcome to a spring day in Vladimir. The snow's almost gone. We had a bit of snow last week and the snow's almost gone now, and so I thought I'd have a bit of a walk around. I've never been to this place here before in my life, so I've got no idea where the path is leading. And I thought I'd talk to you about 10 things that only people who have lived in Russia will understand. But first of all, I wanted to get something straight, because a lot of people will watch my video and judge Russia based on what they see in my video. Now, the city where I live, Vladimir, is not the most amazing Russian city at all. I think it's like the 70th biggest city in Russia, and it's not the most developed region. And so if you look at my content, you think, wow, is that a true depiction of what it looks like in Russia? Probably not. I always think it's interesting when you've got these just private houses like this one here, but just completely surrounded by huge like apartment blocks, and we've got a sports hall here. It must be really weird to live here. It's not like you've got any neighbours that are, you know, also living in houses like this. So this is Forest Street. What do you think? Is that a balcony or is that a scaffolding? This is something that I just don't get about Russia. Why leave these just crappy slabs just here? Obviously they're not needed, just throw them away. So actually, a couple of these points may also apply to other countries. The first point is seasonal depression. I used to think it was just me that suffered from depression in winter when it gets dark and gloomy and the days are really short. But it turns out it happens to everyone. Seasonal depression is a real thing, and it can be difficult in those winter months. Now, luckily this year we haven't really had much of a winter. It's been really mild in European Russia. We've hardly had any snow. The snow that you can see has fallen over the last few days. Pretty much the whole winter we didn't have snow, so this year I didn't have any seasonal depression at all, and it's been really nice. That's a nice house, isn't it? It's actually very nice. And we've got this other very traditional one here as well. Something that I always find really funny in Russia is Russian people will speak to you in English and they'll say, look, excuse me, my English is really bad, so I'm really ashamed of my English, but I'd like to speak to you using English. Or for example, if you ask for directions, they'll say, look, I'm really embarrassed about how bad my English is. But then when they say that, that is a precursor for basically their English being absolutely incredible. Whenever anyone says that, you'll notice that in Russia, right? Someone will say to you, yeah, my English is so bad. And then they'll go on to speak English absolutely amazingly. And you'll think, wow, you were ashamed about how bad your English was. Your English is 100 times better than my Russian, and I consider my Russian to be kind of okay. The next one is an interesting one. If you live in a country where pickle juice, well, pickled vegetables are a thing, like they are in Russia, then you'll know that pickle juice, the juice that comes, you know, where the vegetables are stored in the jar, if you drink a lot of vodka, the next day and you wake up, that pickle juice is a real lifesaver. So you'll use the pickled cucumbers while you're drinking the vodka during the evening as a chaser. Every time you have a shot, you'll have a pickled cucumber. And then the next day, you'll take that jar out the fridge and just down the pickle juice. Ah, incredible. Ha, real lifesaver. Russian people really make an effort to stay in touch with their classmates and course mates from university. And in Russia, they actually have a specific weekend, which is only, well, not only, but it's that weekend that classmates meet. And so it's very difficult to get any tables in any restaurants on that specific weekend. I think it's in the middle of March. There's just no spaces available because on that weekend, the entire Russia, the entire population of Russia meets their classmates. I've chosen the road with loads of dogs again. They can definitely hear me coming. What do you think of the plastic flamingos? Well, not flamingos, or what are they? Let me know. Oh. Another thing that Russia has, but I think the entire world probably has, but Russia celebrates, are specific days for specific professions. Every day is some sort of celebration of a specific profession, whether that's the day of the lawyer or the day of the bookkeeper, or a couple of days ago it was the day of the astronaut, or Russia's, I guess, celebration of success in space. And there's lots of memes and photos going around about Yuri Gagarin. Obviously in the Soviet Union, all of that artwork, that Soviet futurism and all of that stuff people were sending to each other. But it's just interesting how there's always a specific day for somebody, no matter what position you have in life, whether it be a teacher. There's the day of education, the day of Din Znania. Is that education? I think it's the day of knowledge. And so there's always something to celebrate, someone to congratulate. In our friends group, we've got a chat with about 15-20 people in it, and obviously each celebration, whether it's the day of the police or the day of security or the day of the florist or whatever it is, there's a day to congratulate a specific person. And then in Russia we also congratulate each other with different things, like the purchase of a car or a house, or maybe something good's happened to a family member. There's all these different things, or perhaps excuses to celebrate stuff. But it's also nice, isn't it? I always try and remember, if it's the day of the bookkeeper, the day of the lawyer, something like that, I always make sure that on that day I congratulate the people that are important to me. Привет. Oh, you're so nice. Not barking at me, not going crazy. I always tell people that are coming to Russia to remember the people that are important to you on specific days. It's just nice, isn't it, if you buy a bunch of flowers for your bookkeeper on the day of the bookkeeper. It's not required, but it's nice of you. Now, when you need the bookkeeper and she's really busy, she'll remember that you're a nice person and you bought her flowers on the day of the bookkeeper. At the end of the day, it's up to you. How you treat people, people are going to treat you that way in return. And so don't be surprised if you need your lawyer and he's too busy to help you on that day because he's got stuff going on. Whereas the fact that you remember him on the day of the lawyer, well, that might help you to have him drop everything when you need something. Check out this bad boy machine. I'm guaranteed that's got a crazy subwoofer in the boot. I wonder if this is a public park. What do you think? It's got a fence around it. It's interesting, the contrast in Russia, isn't it? Now, I mean, obviously, you're not going to be giving away bunches of flowers or box of chocolates or champagne every day, because, as I said, there's a day for everyone, every single profession. But just the people that are important to you, if you're the type of person that always needs a bookkeeper or always needs a lawyer, then remember your lawyer on those days. Obviously, you're not gonna be spending 50 quid every day to congratulate everybody in every profession, but just remember those people that are important to you. One of the things in Russian culture that's similar to Arab culture is the hospitality of the people. In the West, people are generally friendly, will stop and talk to each other even though they don't know each other, whereas in Russia that doesn't really happen. However, if you make the effort, then people will stop and chat. When I'm walking around and filming stuff, some people will look at me maybe a bit skeptical. What's he doing? What's he filming? Like, especially in this area here, right? Am I trying to film like really bad stuff? But then at the same time, every now and again I'll see someone and I'll stop and chat and introduce myself. I'll tell them who I am, what I'm doing, why I'm here. And when you do that, it's pretty incredible, because people want to show you stuff, want to be hospitable. Russian people really want to kind of show the world how amazing and how nice Russia is. And so even though this area here might not be very nice, I could very easily meet someone on the street here that lives locally, and they'll invite me in for a coffee. They'll perhaps ask me to go to the banya. They'll perhaps invite me to their dacha, or invite me to come back when the weather's better. This is very typical in Russia. The amount of times when I've gone places and met people just because, well, people are very open to chatting once you get through that little barrier to start with. I don't drink anymore, but if you drink in Russia, it's a lot easier to meet people, because, now, I'm not saying that all Russian people drink or that you have to drink, but when you meet people, if you can have a couple of beers with them or a couple of shots of vodka, of course you loosen up, they loosen up as well, and it's much easier to kind of, like, you know, just feel that bond. Whereas if you're not drinking, of course it's a bit different. But I used to go out on my own all the time in Russia. I used to drink, I used to enjoy drinking, so I'd just go out in the evening on my own, go to some bars, meet people, and then the next day I'd be invited to their village house to go to the banya or to go to a barbecue. And that is one of the best things to do if you're coming to Russia, especially on your own. Just go out on your own and meet people. You'll be amazed at how many people you meet in Russia, and how I think Russian people feel that they need to prove a point. They need to prove that Russia's not like you've been told it is, even though you know it's not that. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but you'll meet somebody and they'll say, we want you to invite you to go snow biking with us, or we want to invite you to go to our dacha to go for a barbecue, or to go swimming in the lake. And they'll want to prove it so that you go out, you take photos, you make content, and you show the world how nice Russia is. They think that, well, the West portrays Russia really negatively. And so they want to show you so that you can show others how nice Russia is and Russian people are. This is definitely the worst season for Russia. Every country and the people of the country have certain myths that they think people from other countries are like. And one of the things that Russian people think is that British people are very punctual. Russian people think we have 5 o'clock tea and that British people are very punctual. And they're kind of frustrated when I tell them we don't really have 5 o'clock tea. I've never had 5 o'clock tea in my life before. And also, I'm really unpunctual. I'm always late. And Russian people hate when people are late. They really, really can't stand it. It's really, really annoying for them. In Russia, they like to have these gas pipes above ground. But I don't think it's very nice. Look how they're protecting the little tree. One of the other things that's really closely connected to Russian hospitality is the amount of food that Russian people make when they're just inviting you for a cup of tea or something. It's kind of overwhelming sometimes. Maybe someone will say, hey, do you fancy having a few shots of vodka? And you'll be like, yeah, of course, let's go for it. All right, it's Saturday afternoon, relaxing in the garden, why not? And then they'll disappear into the house, or they'll shout to their wife and say, yeah, can you bring some food for us? And you'll be like, oh no, I don't want any food. No, don't worry, it's fine. The next thing, like 20 minutes later, you've got a full spread of different foods on the table and you're like overwhelmed. And then the woman will be like, I'm really sorry that, we haven't got much food here, but, we're going to make some barbecue now. And you'll be like, no, what? That's crazy. There's already like a 10-course meal on the table. We don't need barbecue as well. She's like, no, I'm really sorry. I'll get it sorted now. And you'll have a full feast. And then a couple of hours later, their friends will be around as well. And you'll have a full party. And all you wanted to do was say to your neighbor, hello, how are you? And suddenly you're at this full-on festival. Check out the stars on the gate as well. It's pretty scary to think that this string here is holding up the lamppost, and this string here is holding up the tree. So Russians are extremely patriotic and they don't like to receive criticism. And so it can be a little bit strange if they ask you a question which requires you to criticize. And so sometimes you want to be, well, a little bit, you want to bend the truth a bit. Because if a Russian person will say, you maybe you're sitting down at someone's house and you don't really know them and it's a neighbour and they've invited you over and they've done the whole full course meal for you and you're sitting there with everyone, and then someone asks you a question and says, Sam, tell me about what British people think about Russia. And you'll be like, should I answer that? Because, yeah, best thing to do is say, oh, British people absolutely love Russia, and Russian people, they always say about how everything's amazing. Because you don't want to disappoint them, and if you tell them the truth, then they're going to be really offended. And so you want to just kind of be nice with the truth, I guess. I guess this is to stop cars from maybe going down and falling over there, or what's the deal? Or just maybe to say that this is the private property starts here and this is their plot of land, right? It'll be so different here in summer when everything's green, whereas right now just looks miserable, doesn't it? So I've actually got quite a few more points on my list, but the video is going to get really long because I'm actually just enjoying walking around here and looking at the different houses, some of the new ones, some of the old ones, some of the quirky things that Russian people make at their houses. The last one is that even though Russian men are really macho, right? They obviously go to the banya naked, right? But they, at the same time, wear dark clothes. All of my friends wear dark clothes. It's kind of weird. So when they're out and about, they want to be seen as macho, right? So they wear only dark things, like very Russian, very manly. And then when they're together, they go to the banya naked with each other. My friends, they'll like be sitting in the banya and they'll be massaging each other. They'll be literally naked. Now these guys are, you know, 50-year-old men with wives and kids, but if you were to take a glance into the banya and you didn't know what was going on, you'd see like a group of middle-aged men naked and massaging each other. But on the street, they are completely different, right? On the street, they are men. They wear dark clothes. They are very manly. If I wear like a pink jumper, my Russian friends won't want to walk next to me. I remember going on my electric scooter. So I'm 6'8", right? 6'8" on my electric scooter with my Bermuda shorts on and a pink t-shirt. It might have been purple. And I'm driving around the town and grandmas are looking at me like, what the hell is this? I'll try and find the clip. I think I uploaded it to Instagram. So anyway, on that note, we'll end today's video. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.